As of the 27th of February 2023, the official Pokemon YouTube channel had a Pokemon Presents, and in it we got a lot more information about what's going to be happening in the future. First and foremost, Pokemon Home is coming early 2023, and that means that we're going to get a lot of Pokemon that were previously unavailable introduced right back into Scarlet and Violet. This includes regional forms such as the Galarian or Hisuian forms of previously established Mons, the Alolan forms of previously established Mons, that kind of stuff, as well as some Pokemon that just straight up weren't available. So that's pretty cool. And I'm going to go over how exactly does this impact the Little Cup metagame. Which are too good, which are just right, and which ones are not going to get used even though they're available. That's what I'm going to go over in today's video. Now, before I get into it, if you could like, share, and subscribe, I'd very much appreciate it. Now, first up, we got Basculin and Sneasel. Well, Sneasel H, technically. I mean, like, there is still, like, regular Sneasel. But the reason why I'm bringing these two up is they're banned already. We already have Sneasel banned. We already have... Well, Basculin is banned. It's just not here yet because it's not available. But both of Basculin and Sneasel H, that are both importable from Legends Arceus, they're both banned, and for good reason. For whatever reason, this gets last respects, and we know how that went. Houndstone got bound to Ubers because of it. So there's that. And then even like, oh, well, what if we just ignore last respects? What's it got going on? It's got a really good attack stat. It's got blazing fast speed. It gets up to 20. That ties a Diglett. You cannot trap this mon. And that's pretty terrible. And also, if you want to, you can just run a Choice Scarf on it, and then it's faster than literally everything. It can Wave Crash, which is adaptability boosted, which gives it a 2 times bonus instead of 1.5 on stab, which is already really crazy going off of its 92 base attack stat. You ever expected this little stupid bass to be banned for Little Cup? Well, now you know why. And it's also got really good coverage, Aqua Jet, Ice Fang. It also has Crunch if you're worried about that sort of thing. You have Psychic Fangs. It's way too strong on baseline, and it has less respects. It ain't surviving it. Also, Sneasel H is banned. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's got a 23 base speed. So it literally outspeeds most Scarfers. If you want to be able to outspeed it with a Scarfer, you have to have at least 16 speed. So there's that. Hooray. And it doesn't even need a choice item to do that. Plus, it's still got a bonkers attack set of 95. It's got really good bulk, 55, 55, 75. So good luck trying to break through this. And it's got a really good stab combination, as well as a whole bunch of coverage moves. So good luck! You're gonna need it. It's just way too fast, way too powerful. And also, good news, it absorbs T-Spikes because it's a poison type. You're not gonna see it ever. It's too powerful. It's not gonna happen. Next up, Girafarig 2.0. I think it should be banned, but it's not yet. And that's probably because it looks very boring on the surface. It's like, oh, well, you know, it's a normal type. There's like lackluster defensive utility. It's got Sap, Super Sluts, whatever. But then it has the signature move, Psy Shield Bass. 100% chance to raise the user's defense by 1, which can be really annoying to break through. So, there's that. You also have Body Slam as a good stab move to paralyze your opponent. You have Earthquake as good coverage, so that way you can hit steals such as Tinkatank or Pawniard. And then you have Mega Horn, just because it's a good coverage move to have. You want to hit grass types. You want to hit psychic types, that kind of stuff. Also, just 120 base power, and it's really hard to go wrong with. So, I mean, there you go. It also gets up to 19 speed, which is the same as Girafarig, which is already really, really fast. It has good bulk, 73 HP, 62 defense, 65 special defense. It's pretty nutty. Oh boy. And also you can run a mix set, because it's got a good special attack stat too, so you don't even have to run physical. Hooray. Aren't you so glad? Aren't you so glad that you're just going to die to this again? You know? It's got Calm Mind, it has Earth Power. Why does it have Earth Power? It's got Earth Power. Great. And even if you don't want to run Psy Shield Bass, well, you got like Extra Sensory. Or you could run Psychic. Or Psy Shock. You have Shadow Ball. You have Stored Power. No. I do not want to have flashbacks of Flittle. No, thank you. No, thank you. Shadow Ball, you have Electric Coverage. You have Trailblaze to boost your speed. It's Girafarig 2.0. If this lasts more than a week, I'm going to be surprised. We already know what happened with Girafarig. We do not want to have Stantler around. No, thank you. Next up, I really like Quillfish's design. It's pretty cool as a mon conceptually. I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, it's like those really expensive fish that you can sometimes get, but have like the toxic sacks. It's pretty cool. And Dark Poison's a really good typing. But then you look at the abilities, and it's got Swift Swim. And then you realize that Rain is a viable strategy. And then you look at the signature move, which has 50% chance to poison and becomes a close combat if they are already poisoned. And you have Sword Stance and good coverage moves. And this isn't even utilizing Terra. If you want to use, like, you know, Terra Electric over Crunch or whatever. So Terra Blast, and then you have Electric. Then there you go. You can do that. If you want to do Terra Grass, you can. I'm not expecting this to stay at all. And also, if you look at the speed stat, oh, look at that. It's 18 if you want to have a positive nature. It gets up to 19, which is absurdly fast, which ties Buizel. And only Buizel, if you even go to the current viability ratings, it'd be plus tier. So you're trying to tell me that this mon, with a higher attack stat, better defense stat, really good bulk, and good speed, is somehow going to be balanced. Also, if you wanted to, you could just run Terra Water, and then run the same set as before. And then, oh, would you look at that? Now I'm a Rain Sweeper that's actually a water type that can break through a whole bunch of stuff because I have Stab. Well, technically Stab, it's Terastallization Stab. So, like, that kind of liquidation plus Sword Stance in the rain. You ain't taking that. You're not. You're just not. You're just gonna have to deal with it. So there's that. But that's all of, like, the most broken stuff. Also, you can do some Intimidate shenanigans, and you can really annoy Pawniard, but... Oh, no. Oh, no, you can do Intimidate plus Psy Shield Bash, and then you just become unkillable on the physical side. Oh, goody. And then if you want to, you could probably run Calm Mind, too. No! I didn't know it was possible that, like, oh yeah, we have Girafarig, it's a normal Psychic type, and we have Flittle, which is also a Psychic type. So if you remove the Psychic type, we can just give that all of its stuff to Stantler, and it also has stored power. And then you can just do Terra Blast Fighting, and then you can just become absolutely indomitable. Oh. I want this banned immediately. Oh, Lord. Alright, next up, we have good and usable tier, as in... Well, what's actually going to be good but not broken? First up, Voltor P-Suite. It's going to be really good. The grass typing means that you can deal with Toedscool significantly better. Currently, Toedscool is A+ tier. I personally put it in S tier in this metagame, but with that being said, like, it's still really good. And you're also not dependent on Terra, because you have Energy Ball. You also can run Giga Drain, which is also pretty cool, because then you have a reliable recovery option. That could be really annoying. The issue is that you have a bug weakness, which means that you're weak to stuff like Nimble, Scarf Larvesta, also Scarf U-turns. That's all really bad. However, I think it's more than worth it to be like, oh yeah, well I could absorb Spore. I'm not just linked strictly in electric type tier. Like, I can probably run something over Terra Blast if I wanted to, but also having Bulk Beam coverage is nice. But like, oh, I have Stab Grass type moves, Giga Drain is reliable recovery. I have Leaf Storm, and I can do Eject Pack if I want to do that, because that's funny. Thunder Wave, Bullet Seed may be interesting. But like, you have a lot of support just by having, oh, Grass and Electric. And it's significantly better. And it's going to really ruin Toedscool, because guess what? You no longer have a ground weakness because of your Grass typing. So, it's really nice. I'm expecting this to be really good, especially because it still has base 20 speed, a good special attack stat, and good bulk. Also, if you want to, you can run a Life Orb set, if you wanted to, because your HP gets down to that level, and that would be really good on this, especially if you're running Giga Drain in the set. So, go ahead, play around with it. See what works, see what doesn't. Next up, Zorua H. So, it might be dropping earlier than Pokemon Home, and that's because they also said, oh, it's a pre-order bonus, you can get a Hisuian Zoroark. So, it may or may not be available. We'll see, but whenever it does drop, it's got a lot of good utility moves. It's got Knockoff, U-Turn, Will-O-Wisp. It has Comeuppance. I don't think it's going to be used, But it's just really funny to imagine, like, oh yeah, you know how you can just do like counter with Zorua and bonk your opponent and be really annoying? Well, there you go. But the important bit is that you have Illusion plus a really good defensive typing at normal Ghost, which means that you can take a lot of hits really well. Like, oh yeah, you can block Rapid Spin when your opponent wants to get hazards off. You get to block Ghost-type moves, which would otherwise really annoy your Ghost typing. You have some good resistances because of your Ghost type, and then it's just a really nice combination to have. You can also run a more offensive set. This one is Life Orb because your HP stat is, for whatever reason, 35. I don't know, it just sort of is, so I mean, I'm not going to question it. But what that does mean is that you can technically run this set and it'd be pretty good. You agility up on something that wants to switch out because you're disguised as something else, and then you have Bitter Malice, which lowers the opponent's attack by 1, which can be really annoying to deal with because, oh, well, I'm just going to attack into it and deal a whole bunch of damage. Well, no, it's going to be reduced. And if you're thinking, well, what about Defiant Mons or like Pawniard? Well, then you just Terra Blast it, it's whatever. Also, after the agility, you just outspeed so much, it's whatever. And then you also have Extra Sensory as pretty good coverage. And a pretty good benefit of normal Ghost is that Terra Blast before Terrestrialization is stab. So you don't even have to, like, oh, cool, I have normal stab, and then if I want to get rid of my normal stab, go to fighting stab, go for it. It means that you're going to have less defensive utility, but you're going to be bonking stuff really hard, especially because you have base 85 special attack, which is really fantastic. So that's all really cool. You also have a pretty serviceable speed set of 17. Nothing fantastic, but I mean, it's good. It's good. Next up, Rowlet. Rowlet got a pretty big glow up, and that's because it has knockoff, and that's really valuable because a lot of Pokemon don't get that otherwise, so that's nice. It has Trailblaze to fix its speed issue. It was really slow. Still is, but 14 plus Trailblaze is just like just enough. It outspeeds everything that isn't a Scarfer. Really nice. If you want to run long reach, you can, but I mean, Overgrowth's fine too. You have Seed Bomb, Knockoff, Brave Bird. You have Reliable Recovery. You also have Defog. Defog's a nice one. Let's see here. You got Roost. You can also run Synthesis, whichever you fancy. You got Swords Dance. You got Sucker Punch. Technically, you can do a Double Dance set if you do Trailblaze plus Sucker Punch, and then you can put on some coverage. Well, Trailblaze plus Swords Dance, not Sucker Punch. Although Sucker Punch is still good to have. But like, you can have a lot of flexibility in how you want to build Rowlet. And also, it pairs up well versus Toedscool. And that's the big one. That's the really big one, because nobody wants to deal with Toedscool. You can also run like Terra-type Ground, so that way you don't have to be scared of Diglett, and you can turn the tables on it because of how good Diglett is. It's got Rock Blast, and I mean, like, you can kind of take it, but if you go into a Ground type and then like Trailblaze on them, they're going to be in a significantly worse position, and that's really nice for you. All depends on how you want to build it. I'm not expecting this to be like fantastic. I think that Voltorb H and Zorua H are going to be significantly better, but I think this is going to be usable for sure. Somebody will find some heat with it. Next up, we have Growlithe Help. That's all I have to say about this. Help. It's got Rockhead, Head Smash, and Flare Blitz. Help me, please. I don't think I can I don't think I can handle this. It might be in Broken Tier, maybe, but I mean, like, it's Fire Rock. That's really bad defensively. You still have a lot of good stuff going on. Like, you have an alright speed stat. You have good special attack. You have pretty nice regular attack. But just being able to be, oh yeah, you know, I just want to head smash here, and also not take any recoil because I have Rockhead. So, you know, have fun with that. What holds it back is just, it's purely offensive. You can't use it very defensively. Whereas Voltorb H, like, oh, I can take Spore, and then also I'm pretty bulky overall. I mean, defensive utility of Zorua H cannot be understated. It's got a normal, and it's got 3 immunities: normal, fighting, and ghost. And it's got some good resistances, and you can disguise it as another Mon. So that's really cool. And then Rowlet has Grass, so that way you can switch into Spores, Flying, so that way you can switch into Ground-type moves. And it also can do, like, reliable healing. You can mess around with the set. It's got Knockoff. It's all got, like, these really good defensive utilities. Also, Zorua H has Knockoff, which is pretty cool. But this is just, like, yeah, you just go ham with it. You Flame Charge up, you get a speed boost, and then you go up to 24 speed, and then you just start, like, smashing into things. You can run a Choice Scarf set! And then you can just do the Flame Charge, and then you can just sweep teams with that, and then you can run, like, I don't know, close combat or something. Okay, this is going to be a really heat mon. It's going to be really good. Well, the fire type's a heat mon. Yeah, I know. But point is, it can do a lot of damage. Does it get rocks? Okay, I'm just having like the revelation of a century. It's just like, oh, it gets rocks. Okay. Well, the good news is that like this is going to be pretty insane as a mod, so there's that. It has to be really wary of Diglett, but I mean like even Diglett's not going to want to take a head smash to the face. So there's that. Also, Grimer Lola, if it keeps its moveset, then it's going to have a really good time. It's got knockoff, it's got the punches, it's got gunk shot, it's got a bunch of stuff because it's a Generation 1 mod. But, well, technicality is just a form. But you have a lot of stuff going for you. Like, Memento, you have Poison Jab if you don't want to run gunk shot, Rock Slide, Stone Edge. Oh, yes, so that way you can bonk some flying types. Thunder Punch, Toxic, Zen Head. Zen Headbutt? Huh. That would actually be pretty useful because then you can bonk other poison types that aren't Grimer A. So, but then you have like some weird stuff in here. But Poison Dark typing is pretty fantastic. T-Spike's Absorber. You can deal with. Oh, you have Poison Touch. I don't think you want to have Gluttony or Power of Alchemy. It depends upon your team structure. But like Poison Touch to have an extra 30% chance of poisoning. Knockoff to be really annoying. It's going to be really good. It's also got some good stats. The good news is that all of the base stats end with 0, so you can do like this amount of investment and it's all a-okay. And this isn't like, this is pretty bulky already. Like, oh yeah, I got a 26 HP, 14 defense, 13 special defense off of this really good defensive typing, plus I have a good attack stat that can bonk the opponent really hard with knockoff. It's gonna be solid. The main issue is just that it's very slow and has competition with stuff like Stunky, and technically it's gonna have... Technically... I mean, this is going to be competition, but I'm not expecting it to stay, so I'm not counting it. So, I mean, like, oh yeah, Dark Poison type. Like, yeah, but it's not staying. So, with that being said, it's got a lot of good stuff. You can customize it however you want to play it. But if it keeps knockoff, it's going to be supreme. If it doesn't have knockoff, it's going to be like, Like, in terms of, like, where it would be, it might be, like... B-, if that, probably like C or D tier. But like knock makes it like A-. It's really, really good. So, yeah. And then, what else is usable? We have Chespin, and the reason why Chespin is there is because it has bulletproof, and you're immune to bullet moves, and it gives it a niche because Gastly, if you don't know about Gastly, Eviolite set, I mean, now if we're not running Hex, but very often what it would do is run Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb. Those are both considered bullet moves. So, Chespin, despite the fact that it has a terrible matchup versus Gastly, it just blanks Gastly's attacks, and it's very funny. So there's that. You also have a reliable recovery and synthesis. You got spikes. You have good defenses. You can really invest in them. You don't need much speed. If you want to, you can run Drain Punch. You also got like good like coverage moves. Iron Head, Low Poison Jab, Rock Slide, Stomping Tantrum, Thunder Punch. You have Trailblaze and Headbutt. You got a lot of stuff going for you. And also spikes, so that's pretty cool. Will it be good? This is like B to B- tier. It's just very niche, so it's a bit too like. Gastly's likely gonna get banned in like this week, so it loses that big niche. But it still has some utility as a defensive ground type. It'll be able to deal with Toedscool pretty well. We'll have to see. Next up, Proki. It's already in the game, technically, and I've seen it used in Winter League, but the reason why I'm highlighting it here is just because like, it's alright. It's just that it doesn't really get anything that you want. It's got Spikes, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, U-Turn. It's okay, but it doesn't have really fantastic stats, so it's just like, But Protein's pretty nice. It does have defensive utility because of Spikes. It's got Pump plus Beam, and that's really hard to switch into, and then you have U-Turn for momentum, and then you can, if you're faster than an opposing electric type, you can do Spikes and then get an electric immunity. It's got good team support, it can take some hits because of Eviolite, and it's not terribly frail. I mean, you like it to be bulkier, but it's not bad, so I mean, there's that. Overall, okay, but nothing fantastic. Also, the next one is, I need migraine medication because Bonky Kong is back. For those that didn't know, Bonky Kong, aka Garuki, was terrorizing Sword and Shield because it had access to Grassy Glide, which It doesn't. It doesn't anymore. But what Grassy Glide is that it's a 70 base power priority move, which if it's in Grassy Surge, it has priority, and it was so annoying to deal with because it invalidated any and all Shell Smashers. So that was fun. I think it's still going to have use because it's still got a pretty good stat line. If it has Knock still, which according to Showdown it still does, then it can do some stuff with it, but also what it can do is, if it wants to, it can do Grassy Seed, knock off Drain Punch, Trailblaze, and then have in the 4th slot Swords Dance, and then become a really threatening setup sweeper. And then instead of that, you can go here, and then go for that. And that would be really annoying to deal with. And it's like, oh, well, you don't have Grass Stab, you have Trailblaze. Like, yeah, but Swords Dance plus Grassy Surge should be able to make up for the power. And you still have good utility via Knock Off and Drain Punch. And then you can probably just figure out something else that you want to run here. So you still have U-Turn, which is really nice. You still have Wood Hammer, which could be really annoying to switch into. You can do Terra Grass if you want. You can do Terra Dark. You can do Terra Fighting. You got a lot of options here. It's flexible, but it's nowhere near as good as in previous generation because it doesn't have Grassy Glide. Also, because you have Grassy Surge, that means that Diglett's going to get worse, so rest in peace Bozo. But also, that means that you get to do Unburden strategies, such as with Drifloon and Shroodle, because they can now run Grassy Seed, then have Unburden shenanigans, and then you can do like Swords Dance, Knock Off, Gunk Shot. If you want to run Terra Blast Fighting, you can endure like this kind of stuff. And it's still really annoying to deal with because of the fact that, like, oh yeah, it gets the defense boost, and you can't hit it with Knock, so that's fun. It's going to be a really good support Pokemon and possibly a sweeper, but we'll have to see how good it actually is in practice because it doesn't have Grassy Glide, and that's one of the big reasons why you run it. So, we'll have to see. And then next we have the don't use this. Cyndaquil is not Charmander. It's really unfortunate, and what I mean by that is that Charmander is also being introduced, but, I mean, it's already there. But what it does is that it's a Sun Wall Breaker. It has Solar Power as its hidden ability, so despite the fact that Charmander and Cyndaquil have the exact same stat line of, like, this, like 39 HP, like, all of this weird stuff, Charmander has a niche where Cyndaquil does not as a result of having Solar Power, so you just become absolutely nuclear in Sun, and it's really hard to deal with, so there's that. Oshawott, it gets Knock, and it gets, like, Aqua Cut or some cool stuff, but the issue is that, A, its abilities aren't very good. It has Torn or Shell Armor. They're not bad, but, like, this is kind of mediocre, especially with the fact that, like, oh yeah, you don't have very much speed. It only gets up to 15 with a positive nature, and that's not very good. In theory, you can run this on, like, webs or something, and it'd be funny, but I'm not seeing usage out of this. I don't see how anybody's going to use it. Next up, Fennekin. Everybody likes the fox because it's a cool fox. You know why? Don't need it. Don't ask. But Magician is an okay ability, but Fire Blast, Psychic, you can do Terra Blast in order to have some coverage moves. If you want to use Grass in order to hit Water types, if you want to use Electric to hit Flying types and Water types, like that kind of stuff. Go for it. Figure it out. Whatever you want to do. Then you also have Encore, some pretty nice utility. And you have a really cool stat spread that allows you to get a whole bunch of stats pumped up. 16 special attack's not bad. Huh. And I'm pretty sure that you have serviceable speed as well. It's not bad speed, it's just the issue is, like, why would you ever really want to run Fennekin when there's better fire types such as Charmander? And then even if we look at, like, Sword by Fire. Oh, well, you have Fuecoco, you have Growlithe as before, you have Houndour, you have Larvesta. Salandit. It hasn't seen results yet, but I'm liking where it's going. And then also, like, Scorbunny. Scorbunny's... Oh, well, you know, you could run... It doesn't have a set, because I'm an idiot and didn't realize that it's not that good. But, point is, it's just very meh. Like, why do you want to use this over something else? Like, cool, it can maybe, like, take a knockoff and then steal an item. But it's just not very good. It doesn't have much of a niche to really differentiate itself from all the other fire types. Like, if you want to have a defensive one, run Larvesta. I know that you have to have spinner support, but it's a much better defensive pivot because it has Flame Body, it's got U-Turn for momentum, it still has Will-O-Wisp, it has reliable recovery, and its stat line's better. And if you want to have an offensive one, then run Charmander. If you don't want to have a Scarf attached to it, then you can run the new Growlithe that's coming out, you can run Nummel, because it's got a really dumb double dance set that's actually kind of funny. It's just like, eh. So. Next up is Sobble. It's bad. It's just... It just doesn't have a niche at all. Because all of the other waters are just better for it. Better than it. Like, oh yeah, you know, I can run Buizel, and then it's a 19 speeder, and then also it's got Wave Crash and a really good speed stat, and it can be used on rain teams, or if I want to, I can run an Eviolite set. And I've seen this one used. It's a substitute bulk up, and then you can just do like liquidation, and then just sweep some teams with it. I saw it used back at Girafarig meta, and I want to say it was Loroxel, who's a really good top player, but I haven't seen it since. So, I'll have to check on that. He also ran Terra Steel to be really annoying. It's just like, oh, yay, I have Sobble. Also, it's literally outclassed by Froakie, because Froakie can at least do team support things. Like, oh yeah, I can set spikes. It's like, this doesn't really do much. It's like a pivot, but it's not very bulky. And you kind of want to have, like, oh yeah, you have Ice Shard, but there's not really all that much in your move pool that you really want to use. Sucker Punch, maybe? It's just very, very sad. It's unfortunate. But yeah, Furokie's better, Buizel's better. If you look at the other waters, you have... I've actually seen Contra used. Let's go. But then you also have Marianne, you have Shellos, you have Shelder, you have Quaxly, you have Wingull. Wingle's been seeing a lot of usage lately because it's got knockoff plus Hurricane. We're currently in a very knockoff-starved metagame, so that's why it's so important. And the reason why it's so important is that it removes Eviolite, and Eviolite boosts your defenses by 1.5 times, so makes everything bulkier. And being able to remove that bulk is pretty fantastic. Also, Wingull has a bit of, like, you can kind of run some other stuff, like, oh, yeah, I want to run a Hurricane, but then if I don't want to run Hurricane, I can run Air Slash, so that way it's more accurate. If I don't want to run Surf, I can run Hydro Pump. If I want to run Roost, I can, but I can also run U-Turn and want to make a really annoying, you know, core. And it's like, oh, well, you know, Sobble gets that too. It's like, yeah, but it's just not worth it. Because you don't have Knock, you don't have really powerful moves like Hurricane. Like, yeah, you do have Hydro Pump, but Wingull has that too, and it has a better speed stat of getting up to 19, which is stupid valuable because you outspeed a whole bunch of really annoying Mons, so... It's just so bad, now classed by other Mons. It's very sad. I mean, I don't really have much to say. It's just very sad because Sobble is like kind of interesting. It's like, oh yeah, you know, we have, you know, Grookey. It's definitely going to be used, but it's going to be kind of worse. You have Score Bunny, and that has its niche because it has Libero, and that's pretty cool. And I keep on thinking that has a recommended set. But then it's like, oh yeah, where's Sobble? You know, like the new one introduced in Generation 8. The final one is like, it just doesn't exist. So there's that. Now let's go back to good and usable stuff. We have Voltorb and Zorua, and the reason why I want to draw more attention back to them is because their other counterparts have already seen quite a good amount of Little Cup like success when it comes to their teams. It's pretty crazy. So first off, Voltorb. What does that do, and why does Voltorb H do it so much better? So this is a replay that I have from Winter Seasonal. Pretty cool. But I can use Voltorb here against Surskit. Toedscool comes in. You can substitute, and then, oh, looky here, you just Terrastalize Ice, and then you blow up Toedscool. Now, because of the grass typing, you have a significantly better matchup versus Toedscool, and you don't have to worry about having to Terrastalization. Into the Ice type, because you still have Grass Stab, and that would be pretty alright for hitting Toedscool here. And you still have your really good bulk. You have a much better matchup versus Diglett, especially because, like, oh, well, you no longer have the ground weakness, and you have a neutrality versus rock. You can use Giga Drain there and gain back HP, and it's really hard to switch into. All this sorts of stuff. It's pretty cool. But then we also have, if we go to Little Cup Winter League, I don't have any Zorua games on hand. But I could have sworn there was one around. I know Enigma used it. Yeah. And, yeah. That's annoying as a start out point. Oh, yep. Disguises Zorua, bonk, kill Wingull. It's really powerful because it has a really strong knock, that kind of stuff. So, like, it still has a lot of usage. And what makes these two looking like they're really good is because they already have the good baseline of just like, oh yeah, well the other forms were good, but then these have their own little niche. Normal Ghost as opposed to Dark, so you still have more immunities and really nice immunities, but then you also have Will-O-Wisp as really annoying utility that you can use. You still have Memento to help set up sweepers. You can be a spin blocker. Lots of really nice stuff. And then Zorua H does really annoying things because of the additional grass coverage. So, all pretty cool. I think overall, the metagame's going to be much better off because we finally get more knockoff users. And even if they're not great, because, you know, Rowlet, I think, is probably going to have, like, the roughest time out of all of these finding its niche. But I think it will. Like, oh yeah, all of them get knockoff. We're going to have much more knockoff usage so that we don't have to deal with all of it. Like, it was very, very limited. 7 users, so... Unreleased. Oh, that's actually a lot more. But you have Grimer, you got Grookey, you got Oshawott, Rowlet, you got Zorua. Like, at least getting that amount in is going to make it significantly easier on team building to just not have these stupidly annoying Mons that just take so many hits and never die. So, going to do stuff like that, and hopefully, all in all, the metagame becomes more interesting, more dynamic, and not as broken. It's not like it's all that broken right now, because, I mean, it's pretty balanced. We just have to get rid of Gastly, and then we'll see what happens from there. But overall, I'm liking where things are going. As long as we get... Don't add these. Everything else should be fine. Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could leave a comment down below, like, share, subscribe, all that sorts of stuff to help me out in the algorithm, I'd very much appreciate it. And as always, have a good day.